Come. This is Amos. He's my best friend in the whole world. He helped me find you. Can you stay with Amos for a minute, okay? I'll be right back, I promise. I just need to talk to Dr. Strickland for a minute. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. And yeah, I started this one with my favorite line from season 3. That's what we're here to talk about, season 3 of The Expanse. That particular scene is probably going to get analyzed to death tonight, so we'll get there eventually. But joining me is the usual suspects. So I'm just going to go how you're arranged on my screen. Introduce yourselves. Nessie, say hi to everyone.
Hi, guys. It's Nessie. Once again, I'm back to see all you belters out there. We're going to talk about The Expanse, season 3, where, oh, my God, it just goes at light speed. We're going to be hard-pressed to get into everything today, I think. So, yeah. You guys know me from all the other streams. And
right. And back for season 3 review is Courtney. Courtney, always nice to have you back.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me.
We might be having a little bit of lag on Courtney, but not too bad. And just based on how everything went last week, guys, if there's problems with the audio, let me know, because we had some problems with it last week. And
let me know if the camera, I have a webcam, and I think I had less lag last time, but I was using the camera that's just in my computer. So if I need to switch, I can.
I don't think it's going to be a problem, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
Cool. And last but certainly not least is John. Back again, John.
Hey, guys. So I'm finally all caught up, and it feels good. So can't wait to dissect this season, and we'll be able to jump into season 4 next time.
Right on. So, well, that having been said, John, you were the least initiated up to this point. So after now having watched season 3 twice back to back, do you have any standout moments?
I think, do you mean the whole show or just season 3?
Just season 3 for now.
Let me think. There's probably something that I can't think of from the first half of the season, because I'm so invested at this moment in the last 7 episodes or so. But I think Drummer's big speech is like one of the most spine-tingling moments.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
The season. I loved it. She's definitely my MVP for the season.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that too, I'm sure. Courtney, you recently, as in earlier today, completed a binge. Am I right?
Well, yeah. I got a little caught up with work this week and didn't do my usual level of preparedness. But, I've read everything, seen everything, and,
right.
I just didn't take my usual level of notes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Makes me feel more prepared.
So what in season 3 really jumps out to you? Is there a moment or a scene that really you just captures the moment for you?
A scene that just captures the moment. Oh gosh, there are so many now.
That's the problem with season 3 is that it's hard to choose one. I'm putting you on the spot.
So much happens. So much happens. I just love whenever Bobby coincidentally shows up and is supposed to be counter to the Rossi, because it just says so much about one of the themes that I think really resonates for this season, which is, in battle, it's one of the hardest things to do is figure out who the real enemy is. And there's even an episode called Identify Friend or Foe, and it's just that's what they're constantly trying to figure out. And so every time, like when all of the Martians ended up on the ship with the Rossi crew and they had just saved their lives, and Bobby's there and Alex is there, and it's just like,
Yeah.
can we all be friends? Because really, we're not enemies.
I'm right there with you. Nessie, I saved you for last.
Okay.
I can see you're wearing your crown today, Bacon Queen.
Yes, the Stephen gave me a title. So yeah, I thought I'd the Bacon Queen, the unburnt but still crispy.
Yeah.
Titles. Anybody
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows that we do artisan meats, custom, handcrafted bacon, what have you. So Stevens had the bacon. Yeah.
Yeah, not the baking queen, the bacon queen.
Bacon queen. I got to glue some little strips of bacon up here somewhere. I got my flying pig, my pig dragon over here. Yeah. No, my standout scene from the season, I really resonate too with the Belters, even though the Martians really came forward this season, I think, with a big way. We got to really see them for a people. But my standout scene was when Drummer and Ashford, and I knew if I didn't write it down, when Drummer and Ashford are pinned together with the probe that she was trying to refit.
I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it because of the way they talk to each other about stuff I care about a lot. That's sort of like ethics, morality. What do you do? What's the better choice? When there's no clear choice. That human heart in conflict with itself. I love that scene.
Right, and the song, the song that Ashford and Camilla they sing together. It's really funny because this is a pirate shanty that he's actually singing, that he used to put his daughter to sleep with, and it's just, he's an old pirate and he's might be on his last voyage, and he's just singing this song. So it just gives me chills just thinking about it. So yeah, I think that's my favorite scene.
Right.
Can we just
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to torture anybody with that.
Can we just give a shout out to David Strathairn for his wonderful performance as Ashford? Definitely one of my favorite parts of this season.
They made him so lovable, and in the books he is such a
not a good person.
And I mean, they melded so many plot lines for this season. It's the largest deviation from the books yet, and they made him a likable character. And in the books, the scene where Drummer's legs get crushed, it's Bull, and I love him. And Michio Pa's actually on that ship with Ashford, and I love her. So, I mean, they did Drummer so much justice on the show by giving her characteristics and scenes of like all my favorite characters. But yeah, they changed Ashford so much so that I actually found myself like identifying with him and liking him, and seeing where he was coming from and believing that he was trying to do the right thing. And that's not at all who he is.
Well, okay. I mean, you say that I'm a Song of Ice and Fire fan before I'm a Game of Thrones fan too, but like the show has to be separate from the book. So I'm going to say that is how Ashford is. And I applaud him for it because I thought he was an amazing character.
Yeah, definitely.
They really did a lot with his character that otherwise we wouldn't have seen or known about that side of the Belters.
Right.
An OPA operative, pirate, scavenger that we can kind of relate to, in some ways.
Yeah, because the way you're describing his book character sounds like exactly what I imagined he was going to be when he first pops up on the show. And so I like the fact that it's turned on its head, and he's a much more complex character that you can understand and root for at times,
Right.
even though he's not a, he does things that are not so good, but
Right.
but he's a phenomenal character, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him.
I liked him way better. And it's impressive to me that the show was able to do that, because I had strong negative feelings towards him. And the show managed to undo that. And, like, even more than your initial gut when you saw him and thought he was going to be a jerk. Like, I already knew that he was a jerk, and yet still came to sympathize with him. It was impressive that they pulled that off.
Right.
Right
They
on.
didn't whitewash him. That's key. There's a difference between, making a character relatable and just completely whitewashing a character. And that's not what they did with him. We see that he's got a very harsh side to him,
And also, I can't compare directly to the book, so I'll stay away from that. But the fact that he was such a sort of a complex character with, who, had dark edges, but, you could sympathize with him, also allowed for a wonderful parallel between the first half and second half of the season, because we see a sort of mutiny gone terribly awry at the end of the first half, and then we see it unfold in a very different manner with the ending of the second half. And I think that has everything to do with the quality of the people, and who are in the midst of that. And I think a more two-dimensional villain, not saying that he is in the book, because I don't know the character in the books, but if he was like that, then it wouldn't be such an interesting parallel, in my opinion. So.
Right. He's a far cry from Admiral Wynn,
Yeah.
in the end of in the mutiny on the Agatha King.
Mhm.
The mutiny, remutiny, mutiny. So yeah, that's a very big difference. Different situation.
Yeah, and we're going to have to talk about that string of episodes too, because my heart was like pounding out of my chest. I was telling Nessie before we started, I was racing through those first few episodes on my first watch of season 3. Like, I'm talking like I watched 4 episodes in a row in one evening. I was so into it. So that was actually one of the good things about going back for a rewatch. I slowed down and got more out of it, but still very intense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, again, as far as format goes, y'all, we're kind of free-forming this. That's as much for the benefit of everybody on the panel as it is everyone who's watching and listening. Feel free to bring up stuff in the chat. We'll bring up, if we see something really great, we'll comment on it. But one of the things that struck me about this story is that when I started watching it, I understood that it was a long book series already, and that, the structure of it is similar to the structure of, say, A Song of Ice and Fire, in that it's one long narrative. Each book is meant to be part of the larger whole, which is not something a lot of book series necessarily do great. They tell one contained story in a book and then another fully contained story in another book. The end of this season particularly had the feel of like, okay, y'all, act 1 of the story is over officially. It's time to kick it into high gear, which is insane given what we just been through. But
and it just keeps going. Oh my goodness. I wish I could spoil things for you from the books. Like, there were so many things when I was taking notes that I was just like, I can't say that or John will kill me. I can't say that or John will kill me. Because, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you to see
Right. We get to go full spoilers on everything.
Oh, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, I have to say, I think, I mean, even for now, being caught up on the show, I think I may hold off on the books for a little bit because I'm enjoying the journey I'm on with the show. So
yeah, that's why I haven't read the books yet either. Now I might get into them after season 4, but
just because you're fiending for that next.
Yeah, it might happen, but yeah, so far I've only watched the show.
And I've only read up to the end of Abaddon's Gate. So
Okay.
I have not read anything past.
Oh, Nessie, you're going to, though.
I am, but I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I think there's some foreshadowing, I feel like, at the end of the last episode where Holden is, after the gates have opened, that he has this, manifest destiny kind of vision, where it's going to be like the 1800s again, and the gold rush, I think, were things that he specifically mentioned.
Yes. And it's such an apt analogy.
And I think that is a lot of foreshadowing to what we can expect. See, I'm just guessing because I haven't read ahead.
Well, we have 1,300 doors to new worlds.
1,300 doors to go through, and they're already hurting for resources. They've been mining the belt now for 50, 100, 200 years, and Earth. Everybody still needs resources. And they've got these little barren little scrap rocks that they're just trying to survive on.
Okay.
And what happens when they're not reliant on the belt for those?
I'm going to cut you guys off right there because this conversation needs to happen in 2 weeks when we're getting hyped for season 4.
Uh-oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to steer it back to season 3 stuff. I love you guys, but
no, fair enough.
This whole speculation will take over this whole stream if we let it. I know it will.
Okay, so are you guys not going to ask me about the elephant in the room?
Okay, what's the elephant in the room?
Did you see?
I think you know.
Did you see an old friend, John?
Did somebody come back?
Oh, I got you. You're old.
Oh yeah, his man crush came back.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while since we've seen Diogo, but yes, he was in the.
That kid just keeps turning up.
I told you last time. I was even trying to look away.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You're not going to let that one slide because Diogo was a little dick.
Okay.
This season.
Well, yeah.
I did not care for him one little bit this
right.
week.
Oh, but tell me he wasn't living his dream when he was running in that Martian armor.
So wait, is he dead? Did he get squashed like a bug? Or is he still, or is that up in the air?
If you want a physics lesson, okay, without the physics lesson, the answer is he dead.
Okay.
The armor will stop some of it, but it's not like he's solid. He's squishy inside the armor still.
Yeah, I know, but this is what I'm saying. If it wasn't the end of his arc, I'd be okay, he's got time to, deliver some kind of satisfying character resolution. But this was actually my one complaint for the season, and so I'll get it out of the way. It's that he had a lot more potential coming out of season 2, and that was squandered this year. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
But I don't want to spend any precious time talking about freaking Diogo.
We will eventually because he's on my list of stuff to talk about. But
we got a lot.
Okay, so can we backtrack and get away from your sarcastic replies?
Yes, absolutely. So all sarcasm aside, who was it said I missed? Somebody talked about not the elephant in the room, but the elephant in a fedora.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And can I say,
Leaf Underhill.
I should have listened to you, Steven, and not watched the credits anymore, because they totally spoiled his return. Because in the first episode where he shows up in the last like 15 seconds, in the credits for that episode, they put, special guest star or whatever, Thomas Jane, and it's like, oh, okay.
It could have been a flashback. But like that's why. Yeah, that's why I don't watch the credits. But oh well.
But that's okay, because when I saw that, I was literally like, "Oh my god!"
Right, my boyfriend's back.
But no, I freaking loved him this season. I as much as I love Miller, I think he's even funner as the investigator.
Right.
Yeah, investigator is great.
Just because, and especially once they get inside the ring, and he talks about the signal being better, so he's able to, speak more clearly. It just seems like he's having a lot of fun with the situation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, from an actor standpoint, what a fun character to play too.
Yeah.
He gets to play Holden's invisible friend.
Yeah, and if there was another part where I was like just jumping out of my chair, it's his final line of the season, where he says, I forget exactly, I need a ride, or something like that. I'm like, oh my god, he's still gonna be in it. Yay.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a ride.
One can hope. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what pans out from that too. But like, okay, so I already knew that Miller was coming back because, spoiler alert, well, for myself, the first episode of The Expanse I ever watched was episode 7 of this season, Delta V.
Oh, such a good episode.
Yeah,
no wonder you got hooked.
Well, it didn't hook me immediately. I saw how good it was, but like, it was airing during Con of Thrones last year, and Aziz and Ashea were staying at my place the night it came out, so I watched it with them. And I'm like, oh, that's really good. Eventually, I went back and watched it from the beginning. But like, so yeah, the slingshot racer belter guy dying is the episode I saw first, which is so detached.
And Aversala's speech for peace,
but like, it's so detached from everything almost that came before it.
Oh yeah, there's so much going on just in that one episode. It's crazy. So
the time jump episode too.
Yeah.
Which I will say, even though you warned me about it, Stephen, I was still surprisingly thrown off by that by the time jump, and just because it was essentially an entirely different storyline. And I actually took issue with it on my first watch. And then going through it again, I saw them carefully lay some groundwork in the early episodes for what was coming. So it felt more cohesive to me on a second viewing. But at first, it felt like two distinct different storylines, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. And I missed Aversala in the second half, even though she was in it for a little bit.
Okay, a moment of silence for Maneo. That's enough. That guy was an idiot.
The rock hopper. To the rock hopper.
Yeah, but I kind of loved him anyway. He was an idiot, but
not that he wasn't a great character. He really kind of was interesting.
It's like
it was a great micro story.
Yeah.
Yes, in like 10 seconds. They made you care about this kid and his relationship and all of these things, and his name will echo throughout the book. I mean, not even as a spoiler, like just that, he made this grand leap for love, and he was the first through the ring, and, the belters went where no man had gone before, and, he died for it, but
yeah. But
he taught them more than any probe.
Yeah, true. I will say this, like, one of the best things about his little storyline that they have in that episode is the belter like sad love song that I can't really understand. But
I'm all alone. It just reminds me of like All by Myself.
Yeah.
Then they rewrote the words a little bit.
Actually, I mean, I'm sure it was meant to be, reminiscent of that. But I kept saying to myself, I'm like, wait, is that an actual song? I've heard that.
Yeah, it was. You're right, though. It was pretty close. But yeah, I love that they build the world to the point where you're like, oh yeah, that's a belter like sad love song. No, I don't really know what it says, but I'm all alone at one point.
It's funny. I turned on the subtitles so that I could read the Belter Creole, and it's decipherable. Like there are aspects of different languages within it, and it makes so much sense the way you think about something like Spanglish, right, where it intermixes and aspects of both come in and it switches from English into Belter Creole, and it's just like it makes so much sense from like a language development standpoint.
Right, right. Well, and the same thing with the sea shanty song. That wasn't the original version of that song. That is how it had been adapted, into Belter Creole and for space.
Is that like a real?
It's a real song. It's called. I think it's an actual song, and it is. I want to say the Ballad of Captain Kidd. An actual.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
That was hanged in I think it was 1600s. And this song was written like immediately following his death, and it was apparently very popular among pirates.
That's so cool that they did that.
Yeah, and so it is an actual song that they adapted for the belt with their Creole and what have you.
Wow,
yeah.
That's so cool.
So they're doing that consistently.
That's very cool.
I love the way that the Creole is actually just developing more and more as each season goes. We get more and more of it, and it goes along with developing the belt as an actual separate entity. That they have their own culture that's developing.
Their own music, their own
music, their own culture, their own art.
Like it's belters who are watching the slingshot race. Nobody else. There's. I believe there's belters watching the slingshot race in the first season when Miller is looking for somebody.
Benny Pachinko.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Benny Pachinko, and I think
that's a great.
So that's like their sport. I love that. It's their NASCAR.
It's a wonderful setup for something that pays off
here. Way down the line, because if they had just opened with that and we had not seen that scene earlier, we'd be like, who is this guy? What the heck is he doing out there? Who is this lunatic with the Grizzly Adams beard?
My name is Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Oh.
Hi, Steven.
Hi. I prefer not to be called a lunatic to my face, but I guess it's all right.
But you're a lunatic. You're my brother. You're my barata.
Mi barata.
Mi barata. So, okay, are we going to start this, or are we just going to bounce?
We've been talking for a half an hour.
I know, right?
Let's jump back to the start of the season a little bit, because I really want to talk about how utterly fantastic all of that stuff was from the moment that and Bobby and Avasarala actually get on the Razorback. I mean, we haven't even talked about that. I was like, oh my God. It was just so exciting. And then when they, when they say they're going to send a signal out to, the Martians, I'm like, I know what's coming next. And it was just so great seeing all those characters get together.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
They had to finally get, everybody in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I think that, the Earth delegation, Mars delegation, and I guess the Rossi crew have all been together in one spot, and each each part has like part of the answer. You know, they've all been working on separate information tracks for most of the season, and Abasarala has half the information about what Jules Pierre and Aaron Wright have been doing on the political side. You know, Holden
And she presents it to them thinking she's going to blow their minds. And then they're like, well, actually, we know, and blah, blah, blah. The reason we're going to Io is because that's where it's all happening.
No, you got the paper trail. We got the place.
Yeah, and we think that they're finally on the same page, but then that scene ends with Avasarala and Naomi, like, really two strong women, just like, I see right through you. I know what you're doing, and we're not going to be friends.
Yeah, we're not going to be friends. That is a boss line. Oh my gosh. So Naomi goes through some stuff in this season. You know?
Yeah. Front to back she does.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end. She's got a heck of an arc.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the fallout of the end of last season and how the different characters were impacted by that. Because Holden actually handles it, you know, relatively well, all things considered. Because I expected that to have a much different impact on him. I thought that he was going to regress into sort of, how we saw him last season. But instead, he seemed even more focused on trying to be better and do the right thing, to the point where,
at the end, in the beginning, he's like, this is not my problem. I'm tired of fighting losing battles. I'm done with this.
Happening, whether we're in it or not. Has been tilting windmills now for 2 seasons. He's tired. He's like, windmills, I can't do anything with them. I can fix this one little thing. I can fix something small, but I can't fix the big picture.
But then Avasarala reminds him of his roots. I met your mother. Thank you for being the son that she always wanted you to be, and gets him right back in the game. That woman can talk.
Yeah,
she solves problems by talking, and she is good at it.
And then it's I did not expect it to have the effect on Amos that it ended up having, to the point that it fractures their relationship quite
Very
deeply. And they're not even necessarily back where they were by the end of the season. And you can see they're kind of on the road to repairing their relationship, but they're not there yet.
That's the impression that I got anyway. Was that it was not
Naomi and Amos, you mean?
Yeah,
because she gave away
Amos.
Yeah, but when she finds him injured though, and she just like presses her head to his, I mean, there's love there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think she's ready to patch up everything, but I think he's still hesitant, because I think
he's found other people to follow. I mean, he sees Anna and he's just
cracks.
I can't remember. It's early in the season. I can't remember if it's episode 1 exactly, but Holden says something to the effect of, we've got Prax with us and we promised to help him find his daughter, and we've done basically everything except that. So we're going to go do that. And Naomi doesn't want to do that, but my boy Amos is like, no, I think I'm over you for the moment. So we are going to go do that.
Yeah, I'm with Cap on this one.
Which is not the Amos we know.
Right.
No, normally he's
lead.
Yeah. When has he ever disagreed with Naomi? Ever?
Yeah.
No, but he says she's not who I thought she was, because she gave away the proto molecule, and he kind of sees things in black and white.
I think
characterizes people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He characterizes people based on broad sweeping generalizations, and I think we broke them down last season, like people you follow, people you protect, and I don't know, people you kill or something like that.
Bad
And
people.
yeah, and he has found other people to follow, and he's just, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you fit anymore, and that's making me question everything.
But that's very human, because Naomi has often, at least in my estimation, been kind of the conscience of the group in general, but she made a really big mistake that people didn't agree with, and she had to re-earn her trust. And as somebody who's maybe made an error or two in his life where I had to re-earn people's trust, it's a very relatable storyline,
Right.
because we're all flawed humans and we're going to make mistakes. And yeah.
And she has strong loyalties in her past, whereas like Amos has nothing. I mean, Lydia and Eric, but like he doesn't really have much that's calling him back to Earth or making him want to protect Earth. He didn't have a great time when he did live there, and he's happy to be gone. But Holden has strong ties to Earth, and Naomi has strong ties to the Belt, and that is just pulling them further and further apart.
Right. And don't forget Alex and his ties.
Oh, well,
to
absolutely. He's very loyal.
More and more forward in this season, we see him. He makes communication finally with his family.
Finally,
after Amos puts his feet to the fire about it, he calls him on. Why haven't you talked to your family? You haven't, or you have a family on Mars,
right?
When he's talking about their shipboard family breaking apart, and he's like, you have a family on Mars. Why aren't you with them or talking to them or whatever? You have a family to go back to. Amos doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of this whole season too. There's so many big parts, but that's another part of the season is family, the family that you've chosen, your actual family, and how things are so complicated. Everybody is worried about their family back home if they have a family, and what could be happening to these people that they love.
Yeah.
Naomi. Sorry.
It isn't until Alex is freaking out that his family is falling apart, meaning the people on the ship, that he even acknowledges to his ex-wife and son that I want to be here more than I want to be with you.
Yeah, that's an ouch line too, though.
It is.
But like,
it really is.
it's really interesting because it rings as very honest at the same time as being harsh. I'm going to pull up this comment for a second because Pedar asks John, need to hear your feelings on Amos being that guy.
Well, I mean, of course he is. That was certainly not a surprising moment. I think I expected something like that when he comes in and does that for Prax.
Right.
And it's interesting, his character arc during that part of the season with that relationship, because we talk about him, latching on to sort of people to guide him, but in a way he's guiding Prax just as much in the beginning of this season, and I liked that.
In that moment, he is doing something for Prax. I've never killed anyone, but I can imagine that is a burden you carry with you.
Right.
Everywhere
He's
you go.
protecting Prax from that because it will affect Prax. It won't affect Amos. No. He knows he's doing the right thing. He's putting another bullet in another bad guy. He's good with that. But Prax, that would sit with him.
Right. It would change him.
Yeah, forever.
And the same way when Anna is won't let Amos kill Clarissa.
Mm-hmm.
She says it's not for her, it's for us. And she doesn't want to sit with that guilt of watching someone murder someone else in cold blood. It's not that she actually feels for Clarissa or she's trying to protect Clarissa. She's trying to protect her soul.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just remembering, that line, "Do you have a brain tumor?" Oh,
Oh, I know.
when Anna is breaking Clarissa down, and it's just, oh my God, that is.
Can I just
something?
I just want to say that in the books, Tilly is Clarissa's aunt, like not her real aunt, but her mom's really good friend that she calls Aunt Tilly.
Right.
And it's Tilly that begs Anna to go and try to help her. It's like, even though she's tried to hurt her, and everything that Melba or Clarissa does to Ren really sits with her, and we get in her head. And the fact that, you know, like hurting Aunt Tilly, she has like warm, fuzzy memories of curling up in her lap as a child. And, you know, we see so much inside Clarissa's head, and she's not actually like such a terrible person. She just really has a lot of hate toward Holden for all of the harm he's done her family. But I mean, I don't know. So that whole scene, they did it very well in that they captured how ambivalent Anna was about being there, because Anna really didn't want to go and sit and talk to a murderer. But her friend, who had become very close to her in this extreme situation, begged her, like, please, you know, go talk to this child that I care about. And so Anna did it, but she didn't want to be there. So the show found a great way of conveying that I really don't want to be doing this. Like, this is not me trying to save your soul right now. This is just me trying to
understand.
Figure out what the hell is wrong with you for like not saving my friend.
Right. It's like you had a horrible father, a horrible parent who didn't really care about you, and you were okay. Yeah. So what? You're a billionaire.
Yeah. But Clarissa feels like
Daddy
some
issues.
loyalty still to that daddy. And it's Anna and Tilly that help her see through it, because obviously, as her mother's friend, Tilly knew her father very well and kind of helps her come to see the gray in that situation and realize that, you know, that's not the way a father is supposed to love his daughter. You know?
Your dad wasn't a nice person.
Right. But again, that rings true to me as well. And it's also very human. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to dig into my family relationships. My mother is in the chat. I love my mother. Everybody knows that.
I love your mother.
Everybody loves your mother.
Everybody loves your mother.
I do not have the greatest of relationships with my father. It's not as bad as it's been in the past. But like, one of the things that freed me from a lot of my difficulty was letting go of the things that Clarissa has not yet, that need to measure up to your parents' expectation. And like, you know, after her dad goes to prison, like, she cooks up this harebrained scheme. She's got a lot of money, so she's like, I'm going to do something nobody else can, and then I'll finally be good enough for daddy. Which, you know, that's again very human, very relatable.
Very sad. I mean, that is the man that raised her. That is the lifestyle she was raised within. So, I mean, you know, Tilly's not innocent. She has huge corporate interests, and, you know, her businesses are corrupt too. All of her role models were like that. So she doesn't really understand that there's something fundamentally wrong with this. Whereas Julie got out there and interacted with Belters and saw the other side of things, saw the oppression. Clarissa just lived in her bubble castle, you know, and never had any association with the people that were being screwed by her family's interests.
Right.
Can you just please block my face for 1 second with your mom's sweet comment? I enjoy The Expanse, but I am a big, big fan of @Steven Stark. That is too cute.
Aww.
Yeah, mom's getting some love in the chat. And she deserves it. She's awesome. Probably gonna have her on for
She
something.
cooked for me. I'm gonna love her forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were there, Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Yeah, of course you were.
Of course she was.
I'm everywhere.
You were there. That was
supposed
a
to be.
barbecue party a year and a half ago. So it's always like, oh yeah.
I'm usually in the background, but I'm everywhere.
Okay, so just whoever's got something next. We've kind of actually, before we move on from these sort of like I am that guy conversation, I know we're probably off of it already, but we're rambling.
We're in the weeds.
I just wanted to give one last bit of love to it about the way those characters develop from like Prax showing that he's good and caring and like having that moment where he questions, maybe it's easier if she didn't survive, and Amos kind of refuting that and the way they work together. And then, when they finally do break into Io Station, like Prax comes around the corner and just starts slinging lead, and Amos has to grab him and pull him. He's like, find cover first, then shoot.
Yeah.
Well, we talked last season about Prax watches these movies where like the good guys got a gun.
Western or whatever, the shoot 'em up bad guy movies.
Oh, and he's so not that guy. He's the nerdy scientist. He's never held a gun. And he just goes into these situations thinking that they're going to play out like the movies.
Right.
It's so funny to me.
He's a soybean scientist.
He's adorable. And
he's a cinnamon roll.
You know those nerdy guys, like girls who might like watch the action movie and think like, oh, I could be that badass chick, but really, I mean,
but like he did go out and do it because it was his daughter.
Of course,
he did not play around. He was like, no, this is.
No, it's not like he just decided to shoot up a convenience store.
Right. Or that he hid behind and cowered behind the people who knew what they were doing. No, he's like, that's my daughter. I'm going to do what I have to do. But
100%.
like, he has as big an impact on Amos as Amos does on him, though. And it's no secret, my favorite character in the show. So, I do, and I think it might be because of the way his relationships are with other people, because he's such, an interesting and kind of broken person, even.
Oh! I am so glad you said that, because do you know that the working title for the churn was supposed to be "Beloved of Broken Things," and that was going to be the description of Amos, and like Tyrion, crippled bastards, whatever, broken things. But like Amos really does. His best friend as a child growing up is this guy Eric, who's handicapped, and he always like wants to protect the people, the cripples, bastards, and broken things. And so that's why he has such a hard time. They show it a little bit in the show, but not as much detail as it goes into in the books. But like when the blind guy has the satellite and on Monica Stewart's team, when they find out that he's the saboteur, Amos really like all along he's kind of like suspects him, but then he's like, no, it can't be the blind guy. Like I want to like the blind guy. He really wants to, and he can't bring himself to kill him. So even when he puts the gun to Monica's head instead, and then he doesn't throw them out. He throws them out in suits and says, go fix this, because he can't bring himself to like murder someone who's handicapped. It's just not in him. He really has that, like, those fall into the people you protect category. And he's been doing that since he was a little boy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When he is thinking that, Prax might be getting a little bit emotionless, that he might be slipping off the slope, I mean, when Murder Snuggles is thinking, maybe this guy's not reacting the way he should, his emotions are a little cold, then you've got a problem,
Yeah, I won't lie. Those were some of the parts that took me aback a bit. I was a bit unsure of how to respond to that, and And I think it's very telling that it's, that Amos is actually urging him to sort of,
Calm down.
calm down and reconnect emotionally, and,
Right.
it's a very interesting reversal of the dynamic you would expect.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's funny. This is like the second time that, he's telling him to, he's constantly telling people to think about their family. He had those conversations with Alex about, here, you need to reconnect with your family, and then he's with Prax. You need to you have got to hold out for your daughter. You cannot not believe in her, because what is it? Every kid has got to have at least one person that believes in them.
Mhm.
And for him, it was Lydia, and
right, that never gave up on them. And even as bad as his childhood was, he did have that one person, that was his anchor, and that never gave up on him. So he just having him push that with with these two people. It's just, I mean, family is a big thing. I think that's just what I'm trying to say about this season. Family is one of the biggest things. The family you have, the family you leave behind to go and explore and do, because I mean, that's also in Anna's arc.
100%.
And she's got her
Oh.
wife, her child.
Their daughter is young. She loves her wife. Like, she's not running from anything. She just feels this is her calling, and she has to do it.
Yeah. And she has to leave them behind. And and it's a scary time on Earth right now. They just had a nuclear bomb, nuclear missiles, explode and kill millions of people. And the system's on the verge of war, and it's a scary time.
Well, it's not really on the verge of war. Mars has already nuked them. They already took out their bomb platforms. Like, I mean, the war is happening.
It's here. They're within just inches of totally, annihilating one another. And then, where would they be then? If I think that's in what is assured destruction.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction is a term from the Cold War, and there's an episode called Assured Destruction where,
right,
and that's the one where it all plays out, and it looks like Mars and Earth are just going to take each other out completely.
They're just going to bomb one another into annihilation, and then what's the point of fighting over anything, because everybody's dead.
And then at the end of the season, they're all together on the Behemoth and worried that, this alien force is going to take out their entire solar system. And they're stuck all together trying to figure out how to stop that.
Right.
And, I have to say, there was a second at the end of the second to the last episode that I actually thought the season would end with, with all of them, perhaps with the exception of our main characters, but sacrificing themselves to save humanity, and then humanity would go on fighting with each other, never knowing that there had been this group of people who sacrificed themselves and came together. And so I did think for a few minutes that that's how it was all going to wind up, but then of course it goes in a completely different direction. So.
Right.
In this series, I could see that happening.
My first pass through it, I didn't know what to expect in that moment either. And it's hard to know who's right and who's wrong. But one of the things that I kind of do love is that the solution was nonviolence.
Right.
Which as humans, and they say it at some point, maybe even a few points in the season, like we turn to violence so easily, so readily, and often if it's something we don't understand, violence is the first option we turn to. But like literally the option was to be as passive as possible, and look at the rewards that came out of it. At least potentially, this could be. I have this theory that all of this is just a setup for us to be really screwed over by the proto-molecule and the rings and all that stuff. So we'll see. But that's for season 4 talk in a couple of weeks.
Right. that's another point about this, Stephen, is this is another episode of incidents where the nuclear weapons were what put them in this pickle.
Mhm.
You know, even though it wasn't like a missile that was fired at the station, they blew up. They created basically a nuclear bomb explosion right outside the station. So it's saying, it sees it as a threat. Not only that it sees them as a threat, but it sees their entire system as a threat, and it's just going to wipe it clean. You're dealing in, your a lot of nuclear weapons at me. No, you don't get to pass. You don't get to go through. So having the solution to the Kobayashi Maru in this instance, the solution was to shut down all the nuclear reactors in the area. Just shut them down.
Right.
Just turn them off.
But the thing is, Ashford is still not completely wrong.
No.
Because there's still every chance that, that some party will come through the ring in a violent manner. And then, at that point, can it still judge humanity as a threat? I mean,
well, it doesn't even judge humanity as anything. It doesn't even register.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's judging whether the ships are a threat or not.
well, yeah.
If the conditions warrant,
But
this action.
humans are about as meaningful to this thing, like an ant is to us. As they say, like we don't think about paving over anthills any more than this thing would think about scouring our solar system clean.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that still makes it a very fragile situation.
Oh yeah, no doubt, because there's still the ring gates have opened, and just because it can let us out, it can let anything in, and we have no way to close them.
Yeah.
If it becomes a potential threat, because that's one thing that they are worried about. They are worried about a swarm of alien creatures or whatever flying out of that gate like, a horde of locusts.
Right.
And that there would be no way that you could stop them because it's here.
Or even just the station opening up a beam and aiming a laser at the sun, and that's the end of the solar system.
That's it. Yeah. And you're done. And everybody, you're done. So, it's a very precarious situation, just like, you're saying, John. Anything could trip it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have no way to stop it.
Except to just not be a threat. Like, don't nuke it in the first place.
Right.
Seriously.
Let's not throw grenades
the
in
greatest
Washington
threat humanity's ever faced. Just back down and back away slowly. Seriously.
Well,
Do not
it's not like that's exactly an easy order to pull off because, and, when has humanity as a collective ever been able to convince everybody else to not be violent?
Just out of curiosity, though, they weren't even trying to hurt it with the nuke. It was like poking the bear just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
It's just a science experiment. No harm done. Look, it contained everything. Contained the blood.
Seriously, someone threw a grenade at it and they completely disassembled him into red goo. And yet they thought, let's throw a nuke at it instead and see what happens.
Yeah, the first one, like the grenade, makes me think of that ant you feel crawling on your leg and you brush it and you just accidentally, like, the nuke is like, oh, it bit me. Now this means war.
Yeah.
Because then, ant bites are the worst. I hate them.
Yeah,
I don't know. In Texas, we have fire ants, and I've worked outdoors most of my life, so I've been covered in ant bites on an occasion or two. All right, y'all, we're about an hour into this, and I want to do my mid-roll thing. So if you will indulge me for a moment, first and foremost, I need to say thank you to Ridiculous Ed Tollett, my number one patron right now. Sean, buddy, I love you, man, and I appreciate what you're doing for me. Speaking of Patreon, yeah, my Patreon is still open, and for those of you, I'm using it to help pay for my trip to Ice and Fire Con and Con of Thrones next year. Maybe buy a camera that's not this crappy thing on my laptop. So please, if you can spare a few bucks, go over to my Patreon. I do giveaways to my patrons. This month, I will be giving away this huge laptop / mouse pad. It's high quality neoprene, got the Stark logo on there. It's good stuff. I will mail it to you anywhere, wherever you live. But I will be giving that away to anybody who is a patron at the end of the month. I will be doing a drawing on December 1st, which is, I believe, when we're doing our next Expanse stream, which would be season 4 hype stream in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, anyway.
2 weeks from today.
Don't laugh at me, Sean. I know. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate it. Again, for those of you who can't support me on Patreon, that is fine. I never will make content that is going to be Patreon exclusive, but you know, they get cracks at things like this. I have a lot of stuff that's just like taking up shelf space, and I might as well give it to a good home.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. There are a lot of people in the chat. I see you, and I know that there are a lot of other people watching who are not chatting.
Yeah.
And we need to get more likes on this. So give Steven a thumbs up for us.
I would appreciate it. It would be awesome. Okay, well, I think that's everything. I just wanted to make sure my patron gets a shout out because he's awesome, and try to get some more patrons because I need to pay for plane tickets and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah. They don't just give those things away.
No, they don't. Okay, well, that having been said, let's move on. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about Amos, and we've talked a little bit about Anna, but we haven't really talked about Amos with Anna. So,
I mean, I love Anna as a character.
So do I.
Steven, you said something brilliant on our last stream where you said that you really, and I forget who the character you were referring to was because Anna wasn't in it yet. That because you are not a religious person, whenever you find someone on a television show, it's unusual for you to really like connect to that person and see their perspective. And she is one of those characters for me so much. I forget the guy's name that acts as like a counterpoint to her. It starts with a K.
Yeah, I know who you're
or something
about.
like that. Where he's the scientist and he's very factual. He's the one that says like it's not magic, it's physics. And so he sort of provokes her, not in an aggressive way, but you know, starts conversations with her where he's coming from a very, you know, concrete, factual perspective. And everything that he says, I automatically take as, okay, that's, you know, that's right. But she challenges him back and she says things that actually make me believe in her and want to believe in the religion that she's promoting, which is not true of all of the religions in the Expanse. Like just the way that the language evolves, there are characteristics and callbacks to religions that we have right now on Earth that are represented on the Expanse, and more so in the books even. And I mean, we get introduced to the what's his name? Not Esteban. I have it written down.
Yeah. I remember something I was meant to say.
Father Hank is what he's called. He's like a TV evangelist, and he has this huge following, and he's the minister to the rich and famous, and he's basically a celebrity, and he's like a corporate spokesperson. And, you know, I could like that is a way that I could see organized religion evolving. The Mormons that, you know, made a pilgrimage to Utah and then want to do something similar out into space. Like it makes sense the way these religions evolve. And then we have this Methodist minister who has, you know, a lesbian relationship, a wife and a beautiful child, and, you know, actually like going out there and wanting to minister to the masses. And she's not perfect, but, you know, she just
she's not perfect.
She believes.
She's not perfect in such perfect ways, though. Like,
I know, and so like, she's so relatable.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. When you start talking about characters who are deeply religious, it can be a turnoff for me, you know, because. But Anna is one of those characters. She's just got it so right. She's got it so right.
And she's so bright. Like when Aaron Wright asks her, do you think this is what your God planned or something like that? And she's like, that's a question that people who are not religious ask people who are when they're making fun of them. Right. You know, like she doesn't even buy into it. She doesn't respond in a way, you know, she's not giving him that wide-eyed, like, yes, this is what the Lord hath promised. She's like, no, dude, I see right through you, you know.
By the way, so, there was something in the mid-roll I meant to mention. And it is important. So excuse me while I interrupt real quick to tell this to everyone. In the next couple of weeks, my channel will be changing somewhat. I will be rebranding with a new name. I already have a new name for the channel picked out.
You chose one.
Yeah, I chose. You could probably guess, Courtney. You were there for parts of that conversation at least. But and I'm trying to find me a good graphic artist right now who can do me some banner art and some logo art. But
well, I know one that did yours and John's t-shirts, and I actually own that t-shirt. So now I know I can't wear it on your stream.
I approached her first. She's busy working on a TV show, so yeah,
that's exciting. Go, Sammy.
Yeah, super exciting. I'm a little bit. You know, of course, I would love for her to do my art, but like,
she's too big for us now.
I know. She's
I'm so happy for her.
She's so
I am.
Are you wearing a Sam Reed shirt too, Nessie?
You know it, girl.
I represent my girl.
So yes, long story short, with it, maybe even by the time we go live for the season 4 hype stream in 2 weeks, hopefully I will have new banner art, new logo, and be completely rebranded. So if you look for my name and you can't find it in your subscription list, it might be because I'm in the H section now alphabetically. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say until the full unveil. But if you can't find my channel, look for me and look for something you don't necessarily recognize in H. That is letter H, hotel. Hello. Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Courtney. I'm sorry I interrupted. Please continue from where you were.
I mean, you didn't really interrupt. I think my thought on that was complete. But I mean, I have more thoughts on, well, Nessie caught it too, that this third season was based on the book Abaddon's Gate, and it's the final episode's title. And so in the Bible, Abaddon's Gate is a place of destruction and an angel of the abyss, or a bottomless pit associated with the realm of the dead. So the fact that the Ring Gate, Abaddon's Gate, it really kind of all comes together for me. That symbolism I found super powerful.
It's really symbolizes like in the hero's journey, where the hero goes into what's called the belly of the beast, or the underworld. And that's literally what they are doing in a real space area. Holden calls the area a graveyard. You know, he said this place is a graveyard.
Yeah.
And it's like that's where Miller has been leading him to all along. to get to this place, to get into this area, and to get to that station, at the heart of, the underworld of the
Right.
So, yeah.
That's a question I have. Where are they? Where is that?
The ring system.
Yeah.
I think it's like a pocket dimension.
Okay, but like where?
Yes. Hey, Stephen, I am not the physics major in this group here.
I am the physics guy in this group, and I'm just like, where is this? I do not understand.
Well, exactly. And I think we are not able to understand it because we're monkeys trying to operate a microwave. And
I love that illusion.
Let's go inside.
Yes.
So yeah, we're not meant to understand where it is or what it is or how it's created we've just gotten to level 1.
And
Right.
I felt like one of the major themes.
We did not die. That's like the best thing you say on a level 1 campaign is nobody died.
Nobody died.
Nobody died.
They can't exactly say that though.
Well, I mean, of the main group, the core group, you know what I mean, the RPG group.
Okay, yes.
The RPG group.
Only died. I got you.
Oh, I felt like one of the biggest themes of this season was religion, and that they're constantly questioning faith, and they introduce Anna, and the differences between the people who want to go to her services and the Belters, when Drummer and Ashford are in that situation, they don't even think about religion. All they rely on is Belter ingenuity. But there are a lot of people in the season, unfortunately the man who committed suicide, that are strongly religious, and this is a fundamental challenge to their beliefs. They're kind of what does this mean? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for everything that I've believed in up until this point?
Right. Faith and religion, and that is two of the big things that what is it? What is it when you have a crisis of faith? The ring and the protomolecule, the ring, everything that's happened up until this point has been a crisis of faith, and it's making everybody question what they believe in, what they feel is even their moral compass, what is right, what is wrong. They're all questioning themselves, and everybody's just struggling with these moral and ethical and religious. I can't get my word.
And I loved what you said, Nessie, where you brought it down to what they really all have is faith in each other, and that they question that too. But you.
Right. When that's what happens on the Rossi. They don't have anything else that they can believe in, but they believe in one another. And when the incident
it comes down to that, especially with them choosing to believe in Holden, because there's no reason whatsoever why they should believe that he's because it sounds like what he's saying is he's seen Miller's ghost, and they have to put a lot of faith in him, and follow him as their leader.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they're like, he's checked himself for protomolecule 35 times. Who does that? They're like, they think that he's lost at best. He's lost his
Can I just say I love after he sees Miller for the first time, and he's like, okay, I'm just a little overtired. Who wouldn't be? He's trying to talk himself out of it.
It's like, I didn't see what I just thought I saw. And then so there is
proof. And then he sees him again. He's like, okay, so this is happening.
this is happening. Are you dead? You know.
I love when Amos says to Alex, of all people, like, he's always talking to himself. And and Alex is like, who doesn't talk to themselves? Like, that's how we work things out. People talk to themselves all the time.
Right.
And Amos is like, I don't.
Yeah, you talk to the ship a lot. Maybe you're not the best person to ask.
I talk to myself. I mean, I talk to
myself all the time.
Yeah,
too.
sometimes.
I'm my best audience.
I was going to say, sometimes I need expert advice.
When I was younger, I used to, like, sort of, without even thinking about it, talking to myself. Then my parents called me out on it. But yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, of course. We have to keep our stuff together. Yeah. Okay.
So what else stands out? Because we're free-forming it.
Okay, so does Holden die or does he not die?
Holden?
Yeah, I mean, I know he doesn't, like, something happened to him.
You mean when he completes the circuit?
When he completed the circuit. I mean, yes, he did physically die because they had to resuscitate him. Bobby had to resuscitate him on the ship. You know, he went basically into the underworld. He went into the ship. I want to say, I mean, did he touch the hand of, touch something? I mean, he did. He touched something greater than he had the even capacity to understand. Where a religious person would say, did he touch the mind of God?
Yeah.
And we know that, this was an alien civilization, but it was so far in advance of us, like,
that all this information was downloaded into his brain that was bigger than his brain could handle.
It was more than he could handle. And, they were even questioning, I think, was it Alex and Amos, or Amos was questioning, we don't even know if this is really still Holden, because it's like this.
I mean, an experience like that would have to change you, right? It would have to affect you.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but I don't.
He's seen the end of all things.
I don't believe that he's actually died, though. And then
he's had a very transcendent experience. We can probably safely say that. He's had an experience that no human being has and probably ever will have. He's the only person that has touched and had this contact with, for literally, that is the ultimate first contact. You have an entire civilization downloaded into your head all at once.
Yeah. And it's first of all, it was visually stunning. I love the way the show illustrated that.
Yeah.
But, having read it in text, it's a different experience than, like, seeing what he sees.
Yeah, and the visual experience is, it's just overwhelming.
The cinematography in that completing the circuit moment, and also that sort of cutaway flash scene whenever they actually shut down all the reactors, both of those are so brilliantly shot in that they show you just enough to make you go, oh, I kind of have some clue of maybe something is happening here, but, like,
I love you, Frankie.
It's so jarring, and, like, the way they edit it is, it's so good. It's so good. And yes, we love you, Frankie.
Oh, sorry. She was just down here petting the cat, and they were just so cute together. I had to. Sorry, should have muted.
You don't apologize.
No.
Praise for your fellow humans. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't touched much on Bobby, which I really enjoyed her arc this season too, where she got to play against Avasarala. She got to help out the Rossi crew,
And every time she was in conflict with, like, people that she respected, when she came up against Alex and was like, there's no way they're going to shoot each other,
Right.
And when Amos said, I don't care that that's your friend. If she tries to take us down, I'm killing her. And I was just like, no. I mean, I know going to happen. But like, still, it's just too much for them to have to fight each other. Like,
I have loved her throughout the entire show. I love her confrontation with Amos early in the season when she sees his modification to the Martian the symbol, and she comes in and she's like, who did that? And he's like, I fixed it, and she
because Earth blew up one of their moons.
And she says, "You think that's funny?" And he says, "Well, maybe not now."
Oh, what a great line.
How about when she came upstairs and there's like a full-blown battle going on between the Martians that they rescued and the Rossi crew, and she just steps up the stairs unarmed and is like, "What's up, kids? What's all the ruckus going on?"
Okay, but no, favorite line probably of the whole season. It's not one of the most, one of the biggest moments, but I just love the fact that the whole time they're building up that we better resolve this before Amos gets back, because you're not going to want to have to deal with him. And then he comes back right after it's ended, and he's like, "Shoot, did I miss it?
What did I miss?"
I love that.
That's such a good.
Oh, that is a great line. He's just like dragging the Martian dude. He's like, oh, I missed all the fun. What's going on?
Well,
Probably good that he wasn't there, for perfectly honest, because they would all be dead. All of those.
Oh, you're right. You're right. They never would have come to a peaceful resolution if Amos was in the room.
So, what about the scene where he and Prax had the high G dodgeball incident where
where Prax is supposed to steal the locker and
right? Well, a simple mistake and you're all dead.
You better hold on to this.
Film that. How they shot that scene, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. Where Amos is like, he's doing all these gymnastics, and it's like as the Rossi just turns this, goes this way, and he's got to just flip and move and monkey bar across.
Which is that great science that this show always has at work,
Right.
But the most hilarious part is, though, after he fixes it, then everything settles down.
That's something that the directors have said, though, is that like they want to play up like that. It's the little things in space that can kill you. There are so many sci-fi shows where basically it's just like they're walking around in regular gravity and everything is normal. And they did at Dragon Con Padar, they did say that they want to film season 4 on location, and with the Amazon budget they'd be able to do it. I love that he said that. But the directors said that they really they love like focusing on the fact that all of these trivialities, because it brings the suspense up, like, and those are the realities of life in space, that like something as simple as a loose bolt could be the death of you.
Right. Like the was it one of the earlier Apollo missions? Maybe it was like the second one they shot up, where the guy had the tube of dimes that he took with him in his up into the capsule, and then this was the one where the hatch door didn't they had to crash land it.
Yeah.
And they were trying to blame him because he took this extra weight or extra
I mean, it could be something so simple. And that's what the Belters live with every single day. That's their reality. And that fundamentally changes who they are. That's why they're constantly conscious of checking and rechecking the ship. I make such a point of it in the books that like Belters, it's just conditioned into them that you're constantly working on your ship. You could check something and 5 minutes later you're checking it again, because it's the difference between life and death. And
they're not really all like in the best condition anyway.
No, that's why they
Yep.
call them rock hoppers, and they burn dirty, but like they learn to be mechanics even without any sort of technical training, just because this is like they're basically like aerospace engineers
In space, everybody's
in like
a
street
rocket
thugs,
scientist.
you know, because they have to be. They have no choice.
Yep, they absolutely have to be. Oh man.
So Bobby. So, the way she's changed from season 2 to season 3 is maybe one of my favorite sort of like character developments across the story we have so far, because she starts off as this like, I mean, the first time we see her, she's arm wrestling power armor and woo, and you know, shooting things up, and she's very, you know, she's bought into the nationalistic Martian ideal, and you know, gung ho space marine, but like she's willing to give peace a chance over and over and over again. You know, ran away from the Martian military at the end of last season, and then spends the first part of this season, you know, with the deputy undersecretary of the UN, you know, the enemy, protecting her, and then helping the Rossi crew, you know, bringing into the Caliban project and everything that was so dangerous about it, all the way down to finding Holden on the station and trying to, you know, she shot first. She was ready to kill him in the moment to prevent what she thought might be something really bad. And it also gave her the ability to say, look, I shot, so don't give me any crap about.
Because they are continuously accusing her of being a traitor, because they are so like mind control programmed. Like Mars is the only way, and she has stepped out of that box. She's been to Earth. She's interacted with people from all over the solar system, and she, you know, she has a different perspective on things than they do. And that's why when she interacts with those young Martians who are trying to take the Rossi, like she's so compelling, because she's been where they are and she sees it. And she's like, look, kid, I don't want to kill you. I get it. I see where you're coming from. You know, you've just been defeated and you think like striking out at the enemy will solve everything. But these guys aren't the enemy. And she's starting to think in color, whereas, you know, they're still young and seeing in black and white.
Yeah. Well, Bobby is literally the first half of the season, she is wrestling with her own demons. You know, where these other kids, they're, you know, they haven't had the experience that she has. She is going through survivor's guilt, PTSD, and then just her having to deal with, you know, being considered a traitor and a deserter and everything. You know, she's wrestling with all these moral questions, you know, her entire first half of the season. And then it just like, it culminates really at the end of the, you know, the first half, where she is confronting her own monster, so to speak, in the form of what the Caliban hybrid.
Yeah, in the form of an actual monster.
An actual monster.
And when she describes that situation to Holden and crew, she thinks like she's so used to people thinking that she's crazy when she talks about being attacked on Ganymede. And then they bring up the video of the same kind of creature, the same kind of hybrid on their ship. And it's like, finally, somebody understands what I've been through. Like,
she gets some,
you know, and they don't bat their eyelids. They don't roll their eyes. They don't think she must be nuts. They're just like, oh yeah, we know about that guy. Here, look, this happened to us too.
Right. Well, the thing is, you know, that the people that she does make the complaints to, some of them were part of the scheme in the first place. To find out that her whole team was basically nothing more than an advertisement for a weapons system.
Right.
is just such a betrayal of everything that she holds dear to her heart, that it's just, she just wrestles with it the rest of the, the rest of the season. And then she always has to, even when she's interacting with the rest of the Martians, the Martian Navy, MCRN, in the second half of the season, there's, like you say, they're still questioning her, but it's not that, it's that she doesn't view them the same either.
Right.
No, she, before she had this unquestioning trust of authority, and now she knows that she has to think for herself and to judge each situation by itself and not take blind faith. See, there's faith again, and it's
Yes.
faith value.
And when you brought up faith in each other, and when you brought up the faith thing in our conversation earlier, I was thinking about, like, this blind faith in the government. Like, even you hear it in Alex when he says in the final message to his child, like, listen to your mama, listen to your government, they'll keep you safe. Like, nobody can keep you safe anymore. Like, your mom will go out of her way to try, your mom will give her last breath trying to protect you, but like, your government is not, listen to your government and they'll keep you safe. Like, and your mom is powerless. Like, who do you have faith in at this point when the entire universe is at war? Like,
right. Who can keep you safe?
Not me.
No.
And, it's become so clear through this series that, like, none of the governments have their people's best interests at heart. Like, maybe there are some people in the OPA that are fighting for the sake of the belt. But, like, even Aaron Wright, who has a son on Earth, is doing things that would jeopardize Earth, Like,
Right. Yeah, but I guess he being a top government official, he knows that if anybody on Earth is safe, that, he can make sure that his family is safe.
I mean, not so much though. Look, they dropped a nuke on South America, and as Sharla says, like, to Holden, Michigan is less of a distance from where the nuke dropped than we have traveled in the past 2 minutes since we started this conversation. So, like,
Right.
you got to assume at this point that the blast radius is larger, that, the damage that can be done is larger than even the scope of, what, like, America dropped on Hiroshima.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Aaron Wright is so sort of self-delusional that he thinks he can protect, his
and
own.
He wants Gillis's job. He is totally after that. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually a really good way to segue into, because Pedar commented, we focused a lot on the second half of the season, which we have, but he wants us to talk about one of his favorite episodes, Triple Point. So we've got the document, so you can look at Triple Point. It's the one right before my favorite episode, Immolation.
Yeah.
But you're right. There is
numbers.
The whole
Tell me which number that was, because I just went by number
5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, episode 5.
Yep. So that's when everything really everybody is out in the Jupiter system. The Martian Navy is there. The UN is there. The shadow government is there. When Admiral Wynn comes and takes over the Agatha King. We have mutiny. We have remutiny. We have MCRN sending secret messages to admirals across the,
on the enemy team.
On the enemy team. We've got UNN ships blowing each other up.
And we haven't even talked about Kotiar at all.
And we haven't even gotten to Kotiar.
Yeah.
And he's just, I was gutted when he didn't make it out of.
What a hero, man. What a hero.
Yeah. I loved his character. He did go out a hero.
that was in episode 6, Immolation. But in 5, they did, and Pedar also says like he sees 5 and 6 as a two-parter, and I agree, because literally stops, cliffhangers you with launch pods at the end of episode 5, and come back at episode 6, and it's like no time has passed.
No time has passed.
Yeah, the sort of bump set spike of those 2 episodes is pretty amazing. And you do see maybe like some of the best politics in the whole.
This is, I did want to speak briefly about, this is why, and I'm finding it slightly hilarious since this arc doesn't even have my favorite character, Miller. But I think that the arc that takes place over the second half of season 2 and the first half of season 3, probably my favorite of the entire season, because I love the politics of it, and and the characters are so morally gray, and I love the exploration of Aaron Wright's character, and the fact that in the end it's like you get that sort of bitter taste in your mouth when the Secretary General, it turns out, really just does care only about his reputation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's all on him now.
Oh, what a
and
great
that's another
line.
thing, friend or foe. Like Anna and he go way back to fighting for the same causes, and yet they should be on the same team. But look at how manipulative he's become now that he's in a position of power. And Sharla refers to him as the bobblehead because he doesn't know what he believes. And
because he doesn't believe,
echoes the position of whoever he's spoken to most recently. So having Aaron Wright in his ear, he's basically like just a hand puppet.
Yeah, and if he the last person he talked to was a janitor, he'd be proudly proclaiming about an effing mob.
Friends, and they were revolutionaries together. She was his conscience, and she steered him in the right direction. But now that he's got an ally like Aaron Wright, who has he become? It's like he has no backbone of his own.
No.
Yeah.
But, no. He's just, like you say, he's just worried about what his quote unquote legacy is going to be, not what he's actually done.
But he's not putting thought into how to cultivate that, or what do I want my legacy to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's letting other people lead him and tell him, like, as soon as you identify that that's a goal for him, you can say, if your legacy should be this, and this is what you should do. And that's basically how Aaron Wright just leads him by the nose.
Yeah.
The man who united humanity in the face of first contact. And he's like, oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Let's put that on the cover of the book.
Yeah, but he's clearly, even in Triple Point, like where he's trying to give orders, but Southern is Aaron Wright's creature, so
no,
Wynn.
You mean
no, Southern's a good guy. Yeah. Southern.
Oh yeah, you're right. Wynn.
I'm
sorry, Admiral Wynn. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Southern is the good guy. Admiral Wynn is such Aaron Wright's creature, and the Secretary General, whose name, why can't I think of his name right now? But yeah, he's
Gillis.
Say again.
Under Secretary Gillis.
No, it's not Gillis.
Yes.
Who are you looking for?
The guy that Anna wrote the speech for him, and
that's Gillis.
Gillis. Really?
Yeah, I think his first name was Esteban.
Okay,
so
you're right.
Anna calls him Esteban.
It's one too many names.
Yeah, I guess.
He's the bobblehead.
I know him by, I guess.
He's
Gillis?
the bobblehead.
He's Secretary Gillis, but Anna calls him Esteban because they go way back.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I digress. After having watched the whole thing through, and then I went back for my second viewing, I noticed it much more clearly that, she's Aaron Wright is absolutely right. He's basically a hand puppet, and you can see it from the very beginning all the way through the series. He's
Absolutely.
charismatic,
Mhm.
but like he has no spine of his own.
Mm-mm. No, he
No,
doesn't.
which is sad because he used to, be like a protester with Anna, and he used to have these ideals, and I mean, he was willing to sacrifice for them, and
Yeah,
clearly
but
he let
sacrifice
those
other people. He was willing to sacrifice other people
Yeah,
for the cause,
yeah, exactly.
which is where he and Anna parted ways the first time.
Exactly, yes, because he knew that if the people went on to the military base that they were going to be shot, and he thought that every movement needs a
It's
sacrifice.
martyrs.
Yeah,
Need some martyrs for the cause.
exactly.
Yep. Speaking of martyrs for the cause, Deanna DeWalt.
Oh, Kotiar,
let's give it up for Souther and Cotillard.
Yay,
definitely.
rip.
Yep.
And
you know,
Theo, poor Theo, man. He
Yeah.
actually, he was just such a little
Was that the electrician
weasel.
on
He
Mount?
was
Yeah.
useless.
he did such a wrong
But he was
deal.
willing to
That
help.
poor guy.
And Kotiar was just like, nope.
It's like,
I'm so sorry.
I'm really sorry.
Sorry, but you're gonna fold like a cheap suit, and I can't trust you.
It's like,
Exactly.
it's like I
And
wanted
the
to,
interrogators knew it too. They were like, that's a shame.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It seems like he would have been amenable.
like, I wanted to feel worse about that than I actually did, because it's like, yeah, but he would have folded in
He
2
totally
seconds.
would have. He totally would have sold everyone out to save his own skin, just like he did when they came on him with a gun. He totally would have.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Bobby just had to threaten him with a dirty look.
I know. He's like, can you rough me up and shove me in a locker, please?
So the other guys don't give me a hard time. He's a little marshmallow, and everybody knows it. I mean, I don't know what I would do, but I'd probably be shoved up in a locker somewhere too.
Rather
But,
than
yeah,
take
he is
on Bobby
not.
Draper, please just rough me up and shove me in a locker.
Don't even rough me up. Just
I mean,
just put me in a locker. Nobody would question it.
I mean, if it was Bobby Draper standing there in front, I might enjoy getting roughed up a little bit by her. I'm not. Let's not turn this into a thirst stream, but that is a beautiful woman. Let's be honest.
Oh, Frankie Adams.
They really don't. They make a point to downplay how pretty she is. I think for the show, but yeah, she's
strong and independent and beautiful and fierce.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about that lady.
And named Frankie, which I have a personal affinity for. That's my baby.
Right? Is it French? Is it short for Francesca?
It is, yeah.
Aha. Yeah. I have a friend, Francesca, that I call her Frank all the time. But yeah, okay, we've covered Bobby, we've covered Amos, we've talked about Holden, we've talked some about Naomi. Officer Rollins is really not in the back half of the season much at all. And she doesn't do as much in the first half of this season. I'm really hoping
But you note at the end she's Secretary General.
Oh yeah, she's the boss lady.
She is literally the boss of Earth.
I guess maybe she doesn't do that much in the first half, but she feels like she has a lot of great material.
Well,
in the first half.
That actress is such a presence whenever she's on screen. So
yeah.
Shorea Agdeshlu. Did I say it right, Steven?
Oh, I would not even attempt it. I looked it up and
we should make a point, because we always say this every stream. That wonderful name.
What is it, History of Westeros makes people say Irish wristwatch or something?
Yeah.
Ours could be the actress that plays.
Yeah, Shorea Agdeshlu.
I mean, what it probably is, even if she's maybe not as active in those early episodes as she was in the last season. I think it's because, for me, the first half of this year kind of folds into season 2. It feels like the dramatic climax of that season. So her character arc feels like one complete thing. through that.
Right.
And that was one of the things that bugged me initially about this season, because it felt like the first half was the resolution to last season. And then we got 7 or 8 episodes
I
of
didn't hate that. I mean, I don't know. They left it on a cliffhanger, and then
and I was fine with that on my second viewing. It's just initially it felt weird to me.
Right.
I don't know.
I guess probably because like when I originally started watching this series, I just binged it. You know, I didn't pay attention to the divisions between seasons the way you have, which is a unique perspective, and it's awesome that we have you here doing things that way. But like, I didn't break it up and then deny myself for 2 weeks until the next stream. You know, like I just kept watching and it just kept flowing. So I didn't really notice.
Well, it was the same way when we had overlap from the first season plot arc that rolled into the beginning of season 2, you know, where the
but that felt slightly more natural to me, because even though it felt like those first 5 episodes of season 2 completed a dramatic arc, especially for Miller and coming off season 1, it still felt like you were dealing with the same storyline. Whereas with season 3, the 2 halves are so distinctly different. And I think that's part of what tripped me up. But like I said, watching it the second time through, it felt much more cohesive as a whole season. And especially when you looked at this sort of parallel between elements, like, you know, I did go back to talking about the, looking at the 2 different cases of mutiny aboard a ship and how horribly it goes wrong in the first one, and then versus at the end of the season, and also with Amos, where you get his 2 relationships, you know, in each half, you know, with Trax in the first half and then Anna in the second half. So there's a lot of great setups and parallels between the 2 parts of the season. But I think I only appreciated that when I went back to rewatch it.
Well, that's one of the things that Steven Strait spoke about at DragonCon, that like things will be able to be formatted differently for Amazon because it's a streaming service. Whereas for sci-fi, there had to be, you know, logical commercial breaks that we don't necessarily see when we're watching it now, but there had to be logical season breaks. There had to be, you know, like the intervals of each scene had to be mathematically precise in order to insert commercials and in order to fit within the time slot. Whereas on Amazon, if an episode runs a little longer, that's okay. If it naturally ends a little shorter, that's okay. Whereas for sci-fi, it had to be really mathematically precise.
Right, exactly.
And
John,
now they won't have those constraints.
That actually kind of reflects on a conversation we were having on Twitter, John, earlier this
I was just thinking about that.
About, you know, the need for like network television shows to be like 44 minutes, because there has to be exactly.
Yeah, but in this case, I'm going to be rejoicing in longer episodes, whereas our other conversation was about shorter episodes.
Yeah, it was.
And in this case, I can't wait for, you know, it's not just that the episodes might be longer, but I love the fact that it's going to be switched to a non-commercial break show.
It's going to feel so much more natural.
So different, because they did that with a show I watched called, well, it's not on the air anymore, so I should say a show that I watched called Longmire, which aired its first 3 seasons on A&E. And then they got canceled and picked up by Netflix for 3 more seasons, and they switched to no commercials. So the structure of the episodes were different. Some episodes ran for like, I think 55 minutes. Some ran for like an hour and 10 minutes. And it just, without those commercial breaks, the episodes just kept building and building in like tension throughout the episode. And it was a completely different experience. And that's what I'm really excited about for season 4, but that might be a topic for next week.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have to talk about this.
Well, it is something they're aware of and they're excited for too. So, I mean.
So, okay, guys, we've been going for an hour and 50 minutes, and I'm not trying to shut it down or anything, but like, if there's something you need to talk about from season 3, let's bring it up. And I'm going to throw it to the chat too. If there's anything you'd like us to discuss, any character, any scene, any thought or idea you'd like us to make sure we touch on before we're done, bring it up now so that we're not cramming at the last minute.
Shocker, I'd love to talk about Miller for a second.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
What's the consensus? Because I have my own thoughts. Do you guys think that there's a part of Miller that's in there, or is it just an entity that's kind of using information it's collected about Miller?
I think there's bits of Miller the same way there were bits.
They collected information from his brain.
Right. I think there's bits of Miller in there the same way there were bits of Julie Mao on Eros.
Yeah, I mean, I was tempted at first to think that it's just something that's sort of constructing itself in that form for Holden, but
right,
then,
for Holden's sake.
But then comes the whole scene where he finally sort of, sits down and he talks about Julie, and that tells me that there's a piece of him that's actually in there. And even if other people think that's maybe not true, I'm going to believe it for my own sake.
Yeah. No, 100%. There's a piece of him. I mean, that was what confirmed it, and that's what Holden was testing for all along. And yeah, when he gave that speech about it, if you fall with me, kid, it's not just going to be for halfway.
Yeah,
and they used the music from the scene in episode 5 of season 2, and as soon as that started up, I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to be a mess."
Good catch, John.
Yeah, nice.
That's great.
The thing that tipped me off, or the detail that makes me think that it is partly Miller, is that Holden never met Miller with his fedora, but when he sees Miller, he's got the fedora.
Because the fedora was important to him. Simi gave it to him. Yeah. He wore it all the time. And I can't remember what the reason was that Simi gave it to him. Like, keep his head clear.
Keep his head down. Keep your head
down.
I do love that initial moment, though, where Holden's like, what's with the hat?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the
keeps the rain off my head.
No, the proto-molecule definitely learns and merges with whatever it.
That's why we saw the finch. We saw the finch in season 3 too. Remember?
Yeah.
And we saw it at the end of the outside Julie's window. Then in the blue whatever when Miller is going back.
Yeah, the proto-molecule replicated it with the blue fireflies.
The image of the finch. And then in season 3, I want to say that it's Holden who sees an image of the finch. Even though he doesn't know what it is, we know what it is.
That's a good catch too. I didn't even notice that, Nessie.
Yeah, I'm looking for that bird, man. That bird means something. And
I mean, when I saw it in the moment where, Julie. He's with Julie, yes, but I did not catch it this season.
Yeah, it's there. It's very brief, but you see the finch.
You guys are good.
I want to ask, this is a bit off topic, but have you guys seen they're releasing a vinyl version of the soundtrack for The Expanse? And it comes out this month. Which I'm not.
I'm all alone. Sorry, go ahead.
I know someone who is going to own that. He might still be in the chat.
But the reason I bring that up is because the cover of the album is just a beautiful image of Protomolecule Julie from season 2, episode 5. And I was considering buying it just for that because I can't play vinyl. I don't have the equipment for that, but it just looks like it'd be such a beautiful collector's item. Sorry, that's me digressing.
No, that's.
You can put it next to your bobbleheads and look at it. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's been a couple things come up in the chat, and I'm going to pull out. Bill Ross says, I think the protomolecule had a problem with emotions. That's why Julie was a taboo subject until necessary to convince Holden. It took a few minutes to download a new program. And that's interesting because you're right. Everything we've seen the protomolecule do has been like taking things apart to understand them, and I don't know how you disassemble, happiness so that you down to its constituent parts. Right.
And the investigator, they keep killing it when it's non-effectual.
Right.
Ineffectual, and then they create a new one that has better programming. So
that's how it learns. That's how it learns. It takes things apart and reassembles them, and then takes them apart and reassembles other things. That's how it learns. It learns by taking things apart. So
right.
How do you take it apart?
They have huge on DNA replicators. So like the fact that our biology is based.
Okay, but it's not making something out of DNA because only Holden can see him. So
no, but they buttons in his neural pathways, this one and that one, and bada boom, bada bing. Here you can
which
see
is
it.
So fascinating to me as when what's her name, Monica Stewart was like, I have my master's in cognitive psychology. I was like, me too, girl. But the way that you really could, if you could figure it out, because every brain is different, but if you really could press on every neuron that would create a sensation, you could actually do that. Like, this is based in actual science.
Right.
It sounds crazy, but it's possible if there was a technology that was capable of doing it. And this technology is capable of doing that, of creating like
sensation, sense, sight, smells.
All of it. It is possible.
Like,
it's just too complicated. Like none of us could ever figure it out. But
right. No, I agree. Lost my train of thought.
But that's what when they're in the station.
I remember.
Yeah, when they're in the station, that's how Miller is trying to explain. He really has to dumb things down.
That's
things are too big for my
I love that
brain.
part when he sort of gives in and starts stating the things in the literal sense, and then Holden's like, okay, so a case.
So you were back on Grisia and the local
Grisia, and you're back on series. Yeah. Oh, the case. And I think it's that little piece of the protomolecule that is inert. I'd say inert, but it is on the Rossi.
Yes, there's something
in the Rossi. It's like a little antenna, or it's the way that Miller is able to communicate with, or the protomolecule is able to communicate with Holden, because once he leaves the ship, he can't talk to Miller anymore. Once he leaves the ship.
I mean, he talks to him.
No, he does.
On the station, but.
Well, no, he talks to him on the Behemoth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We can't actually see Miller's side of the conversation in that scene, but he does actually talk. That's when they're observing him through the
but that's while they're in the ring, when they're in the ring system, right?
Yeah,
true. Where the signal is stronger.
The signal is strongest, yeah. But he's able to talk to him outside the ring, is what I'm saying, because there's that little piece of the protomolecule that's on the Rossi, and all the protomolecule everywhere can communicate in real time with itself, like the
that's fascinating. We haven't even touched on that.
And it's acting in real time,
increase in activity
all the time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that evolves in season 4.
Yeah, I hope it's not something they just.
It will. I promise you.
Okay, thank you for that, Courtney. That's all I want to know. But it's nice.
I'm not telling you any more than that, even though I really want to. I really want you guys to just read the book so we can gush about it, because I have so much fun talking to you about the show. And
maybe after we're done, I will at least read up to what's aired.
I did make you read the churn. I made you, and you loved it.
So good.
It's so good.
My problem remains that I've got 5 million books that I still need to read.
Yeah, the churn is it's a short story, so it's super easy.
Seriously, same.
Okay, I've got to bring up this comment because I thought it was really hilarious. Did we talk about the sudden deceleration sickness that poor pilot experienced in season 3? we talked a little bit about it, but sudden deceleration sickness is a great way to put that.
That was like the second, like that goes right along with
we did talk about Neo getting his brain smashed in.
Yeah.
About in season 1, the way Shed goes out. It's it's that same kind of gruesome thing, and this goes right along with that. It's like, oh shit.
Well, just when you start to care about this person,
it also shows you how much the ring and the protomolecule, or how however you want to look at it, just isn't even aware of humans. Like, it stopped the ship, all the mechanical bits. The biological part inside it didn't do anything too, which is why he experienced, how did he put it, sudden deceleration sickness?
Right. It saw the ships as for their nuclear reactors, for the ways that they could damage it. And it learned about the things that could hurt it. And that's all it cared about. Like, these little people inside, like this, like, plant matter is insignificant. When Holden says it's like, when we build a road, we don't think about the anthills we pave over.
No.
Yeah, I will say this though: it was as gruesome as it was to watch. It was not necessarily accurate. Says the the physics guy.
Oh,
I praise the show for getting its science right.
How should a brain truly explode, Stephen, in your experience?
Massive physical trauma. Go.
Okay. If he liquefies like that, all of the bits should be splattered across the front of the ship. There should not be anything floating. It's much more gruesome to see it that way. But like that sudden deceleration, all of him should be flattened against the front of that ship, rather than like spread out. And I'm just saying, they get there right 99% of the time.
But it looks cool.
It did look cool.
It did look cool. I mean, so much of this season, as like intellectually stimulating and profound as it was, like, just looked so cool. I cannot wait to see how Amazon does it with
I know. The show is gorgeous.
It is.
The scene where Eros is rising back up out of Venus. It's just this quiet scene in space. It rises out of the clouds. It goes off into the blackness of space and just forms this perfect structure that just
gorgeous.
Is it? You're like, is it? Before that, you're thinking, is it alive? Is it an amoeba? Is it a squid? And then it forms this technological device, or structure, I should say structure. But you have to wonder still how much of it is mechanical and how much of it has got biomass and how much of it is just things we will never understand. Does it go beyond both of them and it's something totally new? This merging of technology and biology, and
I don't know that there's really much biology to it, because the more I think about it, like, okay, when the Arbogast was disassembled, it ignored the people inside, even though it took the Arbogast down to like nuts and bolts. When Katoa was ripping apart his nurse, it seems like what they're trying to do is always figure out how to take something apart and put it back together.
Well, at that point,
they did that on Eros. They incorporated biological parts.
Also take a moment to discuss how absolutely gruesome that scene was with the disassembly of the nurse, because that was just shocking.
Then the child in Katoa, heartbreaking. Like, I'm sorry, Dr. Strickland. I'm sorry. It's like he's two beings at that point. And
right. Yep.
He's a child who never would have hurt anyone, and he's the protomolecule who just wants to understand. It's like so naive, but so nasty at the same time.
When you see him, when he starts looking at Dr. Strickland, I mean, when you're seeing through his eyes and he's visualizing, like Dr. Strickland, his circulatory system and his nervous system, and how he just says, "Oh, beautiful." That's what he's seeing when he's looking at another human being. He's like, it thinks it's so beautiful, but at the same time, it has to take it apart to figure out how it all works. With it's not like it's really just pulling wings off of flies. It's trying to understand what that is and how
Right.
that
And
works.
I liked they did bring biology in the discussion of treating dangerous objects near the center like a cyst and incorporating them into that purple whatever that was, that
Purple haze.
light. Yeah.
The purple haze.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yes. Nessie,
I don't know. I just like, to me, it feels like the proto-molecule, and by extension, the ring and the nucleus in the ring space or whatever. All of that seems very either dismissive or maybe the better word is confused by biological stuff, which makes me like, I have a theory that all that stuff comes from like a techno race. Yeah.
They have some absolutely serious technology, but I mean,
yeah.
So you're
there
saying
are
maybe
attempts
they've
to
gone beyond
understand biology as well.
Yeah, for sure but it seems like confused by it because it can't, and maybe this is just me not seeing it myself.
That's a good prediction, Stephen, because it's making me have to sit on a spoiler.
Okay, good.
All right.
And I'll just leave that there. I don't want to go any further down that.
I will just
that's my working theory that it's like it's an ancient machine race. Who knows? Anyway, anything else we want to talk about for season 3?
Vadar's so right. This whole thing has been killing me, Vadar. Like, there's so much I just want to blurt, and I know it's killing people in the chat too, and they're being so respectful. I have to say,
they are, and I appreciate it. I really do, everyone.
The chat for this and the last one, they've been so respectful of you. Assuming that you're actually reading it. I don't even know if you're reading it, but like, really, people are trying hard to like not ruin you.
And I'm very appreciative of that too. I got the best chat section in all of YouTube. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everyone is so lovely and smart and
very
interesting observations. And we know Mom is locking it down.
Yeah,
gotta love Mom for that.
My momerator.
I mean, really, who could be disrespectful in front of your mom? Like, right. I don't even know if I can do it. I could curse like a sailor sometimes if nobody's watching, but in front of your mom, I'm on my best behavior.
Yep, she'll throw her shoe at you. Anyway, yeah. So, anything left for season 3, y'all? Anything?
We didn't talk much about Jules Pierre Mao. He was absolutely despicable this season, all the more because you started to think that maybe he does have a little bit of a heart, and then
where he related May to his own daughters, and he wanted to protect her, and then
he's like, "Do what you have to do,"
Yeah, F them kids.
Yeah.
But you could see in that moment, I feel like you could see how maybe he was a different person with his daughters. Like, maybe when they were little, he actually was sweet. Like, we see Tilly as this crass, sassy, but like, she was Aunt Tilly to those girls. She held them, she read to them, she was sweet. Like, maybe in his home, even though in his political or financial life he was a cold-hearted person, maybe with his girls there was that genuine warmth that we start to see him maybe feel a moment for May. So maybe we can see Clarissa's motivation, like in the in the books you have the advantage of the point of view like chapters, right? And you really see her motivation. Like she genuinely does care for her family. So, you know, when she turns on Ashford and like takes out half of the people on the deck just to like help Holden's cause, you know, like that's a powerful character arc. Like I find her plot arc so compelling. Like, I don't know, she's, you know, poor little rich girl, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but when you can see inside her head, you really, and there's so much more to come for her. Wait till you see.
Yeah, okay. When you start making that sound, all right. I know what that means. I can't say anymore because I'm just.
I won't say anymore, but I
Right.
really want to.
Yeah,
Whatever, I bring the hype. You know I bring the hype.
somebody just mentioned that when the Mao is brought in front of Avasarala and she's wearing Julie's flight suit, and that's great. But that whole moment is great. I love that because it comes in that montage of scenes as that episode is coming to a close. And
Okay, I might be out of. I'm not going to disagree necessarily, but I'm not 100% sure that that's Julie's flight suit because at some point, you know, Bobby walks in, sees her putting it on, and asks her, "How can you wear that thing?" And Avasarala says, "It's the skin of my enemy."
My enemy. Bobby says, "Skin of my ex."
Yeah, and then Bobby says, "I guess this makes this the skin of my ex." You know, because I think that's actually a Martian military uniform. I could be wrong.
I think it
No.
looks exactly like the one that was hanging up
It
in
says
Julie's
Razorback
apartment.
on it.
Okay, but then why is that the skin of her
Julie probably
enemy?
had like 20 of them in the wardrobe, the same way that Tachi had, you know.
Right. But
Extra.
then why is that the skin of her enemy? I guess it could be Mao's.
yeah, because Mao is her enemy.
Okay.
Now is her
Okay.
enemy.
But yeah,
She's stole his ship. She's got his, you know, wearing his, you know, the racing team logo and everything is on there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Everybody's telling me that it definitely is Julie's flight suit. All right. I'm glad we got that sorted. But like I guess I just didn't pay close enough attention. And when I heard her say it's the skin of my enemy, I'm like, that's a boss line.
Yes. But Bobby, for me, was like, I guess this is the skin of my ex. She's wearing a Martian suit. And I practically just chortled.
Right.
There was some really good comedic lines just sprinkled out through the whole.
Many this season.
So many.
Well, it's got a good sense of humor. A lot of the characters have a good sense of humor.
They do.
Oh, one thing I want to make sure that I bring up, and we've discussed Diogo a little bit, but like from season 1, seeing, you know, first of all, he's from a very difficult situation as a belter. Then he sees his uncle die after being abused by Martians. Then he's got this wrong place, wrong time thing going on all the time. And it is like, it is the story of how a young man becomes radicalized, you know, and by the end of season 3, he's fully like ready to go, you know, do the extreme thing in order for his particular ideology. But
I don't know. I still think they could have done it better. I think he's a bit of a caricature in season 3.
Well, and that might be, but like, again, he's somebody who's experienced things that have left him in a place where he feels like he has to be this radical in order to affect change. And that is a very, like, that's a very applicable to the world we live in today, you know?
He's a young kid.
Yes.
He's a young kid who is he's impressionable. He sees these people as his idols, his heroes, and you know, you could tell that he looks up to people like
even Miller.
And
Yeah.
I really love the way that they're presenting how radicalized he's become and how like impressionable he was in the beginning, because having read, I know Nessie will relate to this, like having read Naomi's backstory, we see how, you know, growing up in that environment, you really can just believe, like, fuck the inners, because all they're doing is trying to squash us, and you can become very angry, you know, angsty youth very easily. Like, why wouldn't a teenager on the belt become, you know, a little?
Why not join up?
I don't want to disparage anyone's religious beliefs, but like religious radicalism is a real thing in our world, and this is kind of a blueprint for how that happens. You know, people don't come out and say, I want to go, you know, become a radical right-wing, you know, terrorist organization member because everything's fine and dandy. You know,
no, people who feel oppressed unify and address it in an aggressive way. And, you know, that is something that is very much very real in the belt. That's a huge faction of the OPA, is people who are angry with the way that generations have been treated, and they're willing to radicalize to try to fight back, you know, even though it might feel like a lost cause. They feel like every contribution they're making to take down this oppression is good for their people. And they fall into this, you know, unit where Diogo clearly has no one. Like, he was dependent on his uncle. His uncle spaced him to save him. Now, who does he have? He has his unit. He has his compatriots, you know, in this fight against a greater power that he's seen in real time destroy people he loves. Like, and, you know, that is a reality in the belt, and there are other people that feel that way, and, you know, they showed us that could happen through him.
It's a reality for places in our world today, you know, and that's why part of why this show is so great is because it is applicable without being directly allegorical to, you know, to our world here and now. There are people who feel like they are disenfranchised and are willing to because they've been manipulated by charismatic people, willing to do some pretty extreme things because they feel like they have no other choice.
Right. And they want to affect a change.
Right. And it's just, you don't get...
And they feel like there's no other option.
There's no other option.
You just don't get characters like that in most storytelling very often, you know?
Right.
So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Okay. Who else got something?
We might see some more characters like that to come.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good, because they're interesting characters.
What? We're going to get interesting characters again? What?
I mean, this show just provides. And the characters that have been introduced have arcs that are like rainbows to the stars, man. You don't even know. You're gonna
I don't feel like we talked enough about Drummer. Because
you're probably right. Drummer is amazing.
I mean, just turned into one of my absolute favorite characters this season.
Somebody needs to tell her to back off on the eyeshadow a little bit, but other than that, I love that character.
No, I love her whole look. I think it's great.
But the whole Belter like aesthetic is so punk rock. You know what I mean?
Yes, you're right.
Very much so.
Like Naomi, when she joins when she's on the Behemoth, she has like purple hair and shaved back. You know, it's the one thing that Amos says to her, like, "You've changed your hair." You know? But the whole aesthetic is very like individualized, and Drummer believes that wholeheartedly. Like she says it to Ashford, how could you develop a uniform? And he's like, well, you know, symbols persist long after the people die, or something to that effect, which is valid, you know, like he's trying to unify the people of the belt. And the more they stand together and are not a billion little disparate factions, the more they will succeed in the future.
Right. They using this, what is it? This, when the slaves rise up and take the skin, and that was it, the skin or the symbols of their enemy and make it their oppressors and make it their own is how they, you know.
Whereas Drummer's old school belt, and she's like, we are who we are,
We are who we
and
are.
we'll have whatever color we want hair, and we'll tattoo ourselves wherever, and blah, 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 blah stuff, which is awesome. Like, I mean, I grew up like that.
I mean,
but
and the belters have a uniform anyway, because like if you're in space, you're all wearing these little jumpsuits. You know, you're wearing these jumpsuits in space. You know, or you're wearing a pack suit in space. It's
but once they erase all the things that make them individual factions and
it's
come
just they're
together,
all, you know, wearing the same symbol instead of like a company logo, or, you know, they've got Pure Clean on the back of their jumpsuit. You know, that's it. They're either you're working for the company or you're doing something for, you know, the OPA. You know, so they've all been wearing the company colors, you know, the company standard for.
some have, but
Yeah. You know, Star Helix, that's another company logo. You know, they've all been wearing some type of, you know, corporate logo.
Well, the truly downtrodden were not. So the truly downtrodden were not invited to rock that corporate logo. So they
just wore a plain,
very individualized.
Yeah, they just wore a jumpsuit, just whatever, and it's hanging off of them. If they're on board, you know, if they're on board ship, they've just got, like, Holden has it off the shoulder, and he's got like a little T-shirt on. So that's pretty much what all belters are wearing. Yeah. You know, that's what we talked about, like their costume budget was like minimal because they didn't really have, you know, it didn't really have to do a lot.
Not that it's super
except for Sharla. Oh,
right. They could blow the budget on one person.
Right.
Just one for accessories.
Yeah, it's like everybody has one outfit except Sharla has like 5 per episode. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. But you know, Drummer is not a character that I connected with much, you know, when she first was around in the earlier seasons. But like this season really made me like her a lot because it gave her a lot of depth, you know, that I just didn't know was there before. You know, she was just Fred Johnson's security lady is how I saw her. And yeah. But I thought she would.
Well, I told you they incorporated so many plot lines from different characters that they gave her so much depth.
Right.
Like,
it's the law of conservation of actors.
Favorite things that happen in Abaddon's Gate are incorporated into her character.
And I love the fact that I totally thought she was a goner at the end of the season, and then at the last minute, Naomi drops. And then the lift on Diogo. It's
ironic that you think that, because like I can tell you, since it's not a spoiler, since it didn't happen in the show and you're not reading the book, like there is a character that took his last stand that way. And so I was fully expecting that, knowing that going in to be Drummer's last stand.
Right.
And when the elevator went right by her and she was clear, I was just like, yes, my girl survived.
Right on. Question for the rest of the panelists. Is Drummer in love with Naomi?
I think they're just good friends.
Okay. I kind of think she might have a thing for Naomi.
So there's the character Michio Pa who has parallels with Drummer, who has a relationship with this character named Sam, who is actually the chief engineer on the Behemoth in the books. So maybe.
Okay, maybe.
A little from column B.
I definitely read some sort of like sexual tension between the two of them. I
She
mean,
was hurt
I didn't read that, but
maybe
I'm
not so
like,
much on Naomi's side, but like I think
on
Carrie
drummer's
G,
side.
who plays drummer, I think she might be interpreting her character to have that romantic interest. I mean, I'm here for it.
I could totally see that because, like I said, she has aspects of Michio Pa and Sam were a thing, and Sam was the chief engineer on the Behemoth, so you know she was also Naomi's best friend. But
Mhm.
I could definitely, there is validity behind that. That could possibly be a thing,
No, I
but
mean,
I didn't read it like that because my girlfriends and I are just like,
yeah, I mean,
"Hey, girl,
think,
how you doing?" Like,
I think if it is, it's on that it's more so on drummer's side.
That's what I
not,
mean.
yeah, but at the same time, I can just as easily read it as sort of a brothers in arms type of relationship where they've become very dependent on one another and they're close in that sense. So I don't know.
yeah, to me, it just reads like a friendship, but my friendships are warm and
Yeah, sure.
sometimes a little like flirty with my girls. It doesn't mean anything. Like I'm married, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
just,
Well, I think
To a
Stephen,
man, right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Courtney.
I think
I
you do
know
have a point, Stephen, because it doesn't until the second half of the third season where, when they have their interactions in the first half of the season, it's more, they're fun, they're casual, they're talking business, they're talking shop or what have you. But in like when the Naomi makes her departure, when that scene where she is not, I mean, she's jumping ship basically because she has to get back, she has to check on the crew, she has to find out. I mean, drummer makes it more about her and Holden as opposed to her and the rest of the crew, knowing that to me says that it's more than just friendship that's there. It's like you're not just going back to the crew, you're going back to your old boyfriend.
yeah. And Peter's right, that does make that more compelling if you do read that sexual tension in there. Like,
and
the fact that she's choosing Holden.
It doesn't have to be one way or the other, but like I don't know.
It's there. I think it's there under the surface.
I think, and again, I think it's very one-sided on drummer's part, but that's also very human. Sometimes we love somebody who doesn't want us back. We want someone who doesn't want us back, and
right.
Or you just want your girl to choose you over some dude. I mean,
yeah,
that happens too.
Right.
Well, and either one is a valid interpretation, I think, and I think it's good that they haven't necessarily like had that scene where drummer is like, by the way, I'm gay and I'm in love with you. We don't need that.
It could happen. I would not put it past them. But the show is super progressive. We have,
they don't need to, because in not doing so, it allows each person to sort of view it through their own lens, and we can have this conversation. Like if they had that scene, I wouldn't be asking you what you thought about if she actually has those type of feelings or not.
Yeah, but if they want to pursue that route, I'd like them to go ahead and bring it to the forefront, as opposed to just leaving it up to interpretation. I mean, if that's what they want to do, I think it would be good to have it, evident and play off of that.
Happen because Naomi and Holden had that establishing moment where it was like, I forget what it said, from now until forever or something like that, where
well, what we talked about in in season 2 when Holden and Naomi, like they have an intimate moment, when they've shut off the comms, they're out in space, there's nobody else around, they're helmet to helmet, they are talking through the helmets, and that is what has more intimacy and to the relationship than the eventual scene that we have in the airlock. That's just, that sex is sex and intimacy is intimacy. And that's kind of how the Belter.
No, but they're like holding hands.
So,
but actually, you saying that, there was a moment that echoed back to that where Drummer was helmet to helmet with Holden this season, wasn't there? So that was a nice callback.
Right on.
I forget what she said to him, but
okay. Have we run? Excuse me. Have we run our course, folks?
Just one more note on Drummer, because I'd like to draw parallels. I love the fact that the season opens up with her, doing her exercise routine and showing that she's recovering from one major injury, only to end the season with an even worse major injury. I like that. But I guess hopefully next season she can catch a break.
Yeah. Keep other parts in work in order.
Yeah, she got beat up pretty bad this season.
Yeah.
We could probably talk for another hour and a half, guys. I mean, we probably could, but at some point, we've got to shut this down because we just have to. I've got to go to work tomorrow.
I'm going to have to pee soon.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I love that Padar says, when Naomi visits her in the med bay and she's like, can you help me get to Holden? You can see the hurt. She says like, oh, I thought you came to visit me. That is so valid. Like whether or not there's any sexual tension there, that was a powerful moment.
Yeah,
that would be like, you're laying there, you're miserable, your best friend appears and she's like, I got to get to my boyfriend. Can you help me out? Like that would be a stab to the heart. And I like where Bill Ross says, I love that little scene where Drummer turns off her mag boots just to relieve her back. Like that is so, I mean, seriously. Haven't you had that moment in your day where you're working your ass off and you just sit down for a second and you're like, that's exactly what that 0G moment is for her.
Yeah.
And you can see that. It's so real and so powerful and so relatable. And it's silent and like the last 5 seconds. But it's those little details that make your show.
That make them characters feel like they're, humans.
Real people. They're real people.
Yep.
Real. Yes. Yes, it reminds you that even though she's found a way to get past it, she's still in agonizing pain. And the doctor told her spine will not recover unless she goes into a medical coma and goes on bed rest. And this woman's walking around in mag boots fighting for her cause. Like
an exoskeleton.
Yep, she got
ingenuity.
Yes.
She got the roadie legs going.
But like grant her this 10G moment to just take the weight off of the pain in her back, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why she's so great. It's funny because I think we were having the conversation, I think for the last season discussion about how great it is to have female characters where not all of them have to be strong because they're the badasses. But with Drummer, I love that she's such a badass. She's great.
Yeah, the show has badass women, and it also has okay, I don't want to say Naomi's not a badass, but not in the same way that like Drummer and or Bobby are, She's just sure of herself and capable. And I do love the show for all of its characters, even the ones that I want to choke them to death.
Intelligent, highly intelligent. Like look how she stepped on a ship the scale of the Behemoth and like completely fixed everything in their grid within a couple hours,
Like, okay, this one, I've done what you asked.
Different levels of badass, like I might not be able to beat somebody up, but I might be able to solve your problem.
Right.
That's relatable. It's like they're different kinds of.
Well, she says, don't estimate my ability to cause damage to this ship. She's, if she wants to she can take care of things.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Probably in a way that few other people could.
Clarissa, with one flip of one switch, was able to turn down the entire power grid. Like,
yeah. What could Naomi do?
Learned that from Ren, and that whole thing was heartbreaking. Like,
yeah,
that's her absolution.
And yeah, that's the moment where
that's
she's
her absolution.
She goes into it and she's like, I will do whatever it takes to take down Holden. And then she has this man who takes her under his wing and mentors her. And, you know, obviously, like in the books, there's more like character development, and you really see how much she starts to care for him and how much he takes care of her. And then, you know, she has no choice but to murder him because she's on this direct path to take down the Rossi. And
you know, she hears the performance reviews. She hears those performance reviews after he's gone.
I know.
You know, and she's cleaning out his locker and she's sending a message to his kids, and
I know.
It's just she carries him with her throughout. You know, she uses things that he taught her and how to, you know, like you say, fix the ship or stop the ship. You know, she just
then Tilly becomes the same for her. And then when she's going to kill Naomi over Holden, she actually within her head is like a little bit conflicted by that point, you know? So then when she ends up on the Rossi, and well, let's just
yeah.
Well, Naomi wasn't gonna go down without a fight either. That was her ship. That was her she was home.
No, and then Anna saved the day. I mean, that was just a great, like,
she comes home and finds her house has been broke into. You know?
Yes.
You know, what the heck has happened? And
her boys are hurt and she has to protect them. I mean,
yeah. I mean, don't underestimate Naomi. You know,
and we said last season that she was like the mom, right? So coming in and finding her boys broken, Holden gone, and
her ship messed up.
Trying to mess with.
And who is this bee up in here trying to blow my ship up?
Exactly.
That is heartbreaking though, when she is taking care of the boys and she's taking care of Amos, and you know, the second time he comes to and he's like, "Are you back?" And she's like, "Yes." You know, to stay or to, you know, or to fix the ship or something or to that effect.
Back to help or back to stay.
Right.
Yeah. And she says back to stay, and he just kind of is like, okay. You know, that's so heartbreaking.
It really is.
He's not there yet, you know.
But he's at the point. I mean, I think he's at the point where, you know, he's willing. He's open. He's willing. He's you know, things are getting more back to what is normal for him. They're back to norm.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you though, he has a new BFF.
Oh yeah, he's got a new. Well, see, Naomi didn't have to be a friend. You know, he didn't really have a friend. He had someone that he looked out for and who looked out for him. But as far as, you know, talking about, you know, their past, they're, you know, talking about things, they didn't have that type of a relationship, where he does have that relationship with Prax. And then later on with Anna, because we get little bits and pieces of his backstory.
But he creates,
you know, only with
he creates a relationship like he had with Naomi, with someone we now know.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything.
No. I won't either.
Important. Yeah. See. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to read the churn, John. That's all.
Yeah.
No, see.
I mean, just listen to the audio. It's only like 2 hours. It's really, really good.
And you're not going to be spoiled now.
I know, but see, this is the thing. I view the show as, you know, when it comes to adaptations versus books. Like, that story exists in the book verse, and for me, the show is its own thing. So I don't necessarily. I'd rather save that for when I'm into the books.
That's fair, but
there are Easter eggs. The Easter eggs all throughout from season 1 right on through season 3. You get little Easter eggs. When he starts speaking, when Baltimore comes, anytime Baltimore comes up, where he starts talking about his childhood, all of these little things are just Easter eggs and callbacks.
Is so relevant to the show.
Yeah,
the show doesn't spoil anything.
When the documentarians mention Amos Burton, there was a guy in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it is worth it, but I understand you don't want to read it.
But you guys are
reading, a relationship?
But you guys read those as Easter eggs because you know the material. Whereas for me, those are tantalizing little bits from which I can glean parts of his past, and I enjoy the not knowing because those little bits are me putting tiny pieces together.
I just want to dig deeper. Every time I'm tantalized, I just want to know more. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, though, and I'm respecting.
Don't worry, the day will come.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah. So guys, I'm going to have to shut this down soon because biology is going to dictate soon that I go.
Yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes is too long.
We've been going it just ticked over 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we've given a lot of love to season 3 of The Expanse, and like I say, we could probably keep going, find things to talk about, except some of us have to drive 8 hours tomorrow. Yeah. That would be me. I have to drive from Dallas to Memphis tomorrow. So,
wow.
Yeah. Well, that's work. Y'all know I travel for work.
I can't believe you could drive 8 straight hours and still be in the same state. Like, I'm from New Jersey.
No. We're leaving Dallas, driving across the entire state of Arkansas to wind up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
but you're right. You can
drive for 8 hours and still be in the state.
Texas, exactly.
Yes,
I know.
If I was driving the other way, we could drive for 10 hours and still be in Texas.
Niece and nephew and my mother-in-law, like they all live in Texas. You could literally drive 8 hours and still be in Texas. It blows my mind.
Pedro has one more question for Courtney.
Okay.
Uh-oh. He just told me to behave. I don't know if I want to know what his question is.
One last question for Courtney. What are you more excited for about season 4 or season 5?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all great. Like, literally, it just keeps getting better and better.
So season 5
better.
Season 6.
And honestly, or 9. I mean, 9. To me, first of all, I'm not one of I respect that John has broken things up into series and when I read a series of books, I read everything in a row. Like I finish one, I start the next one, and it all kind of becomes one for me. So
you're such a Hermione.
I don't even know. Yes, I am. Am I that bossy? Am I don't know.
No, I don't know. Ask your kids at school.
Oh, well. I am a teacher. So yeah, and probably get the bossy out on them and then come home and I'm like a fairly normal human being. But yeah, I'm probably Hermione at work for sure.
Ooh, all right. Well, y'all, that's a good spot to wrap up too, I think. So moving forward, next week is a fandom spotlight for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Got a couple of good guests lined up for that. If you're a fan of that show, come over next week and enjoy some conversation about that. 2 weeks from tonight will be season 4 Get Hype stream, where we will talk all about the official trailer that will be coming out tomorrow. and all of our expectations and things we want to see. And I'm sure we'll touch on like Bern Gorman being in it because he's awesome. But yeah, so 2 weeks from tonight, Nessie works every other Sunday, so we get her every other Sunday. And 2 weeks from now, we will.
Can't do it without Nessie. She's the brains behind.
It's like they're doing it with. So,
I just want to interject real quick and just say thank you guys. It's been really great getting into the show, and I've just enjoyed the experience of building up to this point and getting to talk about it with you guys. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
I'm glad we had your unique perspective to draw on too.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see more and more people out on Twitter talking about the Expanse. Are hyped for the season. They're starting to read the books. There's the our family is growing. We're getting lots and lots of interest, and I think it's awesome. And the channel is growing, Stephen. I think.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. We've got some new branding.
Yeah, and that is another thing I want to mention. Yeah, the rebranding is coming. We mentioned it earlier. I don't want to there will be an official launch where I will officially change the name and start using my new artwork, but soon. #soon.
I love you just the way you are, but I'm excited to see what you'll do next.
Right on. Appreciate that. Oh yeah. Links to everybody's Twitter is down in the description. Make sure you go follow all these fine folks on Twitter. It's definitely worth your while, especially. Well, no, not going to especially.
I'm not that interesting.
Yeah, okay. Everybody, don't follow Courtney.
I mean, feel free, but mostly I just like and lurk. I don't even tweet that much.
And link to my Patreon down below. Once again, giving away this nice big laptop mat to one of my lucky patrons at the end of the month. And for those of you that were here last week when we had the absolute technological fail with Aziz, we have rescheduled Aziz for December the 8th. I know that, nerd. So that will be the week after season 4 hype stream. And then the week after that, we'll be talking about actual season 4, having already watched the whole thing maybe twice. I know it is less than a month away, everyone.
I know.
Less
I cannot.
than a month
I'm so
away.
excited.
Yeah, you all are less than a month. This is the longest I've had to wait for more episodes.
Shut up.
Aw.
I mean, I've waited for so long.
Yeah, I know.
The number of
And we're very
times I've read
thankful.
the books in between just for that fix. I can't wait. This
And
is
we're all
going to be
just
the
very
best.
thankful and grateful that the show was saved by the fans, that it was picked up, it was resurrected from the ashes, and that we have the opportunity, because a lot of shows don't get that.
Right.
All because of exposure like this.
Right.
So it's everybody that's out there, you guys made this happen. It got the show resurrected and here for season 4. Season 5 is coming. We've got so much.
It doesn't hurt to have Elon Musk as a fan, though. Seriously,
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I guess.
hurt.
Doesn't hurt. No, doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt to have massive amounts of money thrown at you. So,
But the massive amounts of money were only thrown at you because
because
our voices were
goes as
heard.
a fan. So yeah.
Right. Okay, y'all. That's it then. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I gotta cut it off. I gotta pee. Full disclosure. I gotta go use the back tube.
That's why we keep these things to 2 hours usually.
Right.
It's the reality of life.
We made it, yeah.
We aim for 2 hours.
Right.
I've
And
had
we
a glass
missed
of
big time,
wine
and that's okay.
and a cup of tea during this time.
Okay, so
gotta go.
go watch his Dark Materials. That's also really good. Watch The Mandalorian.
Yes, it is.
As if I need to tell you to watch The Mandalorian. Go watch that. It was really good.
Watchmen starts in 10 minutes for those.
Okay, Watchmen starts in 10 minutes. So, yeah, we are going to cut it off here, y'all. Okay? So, thanks to all of my guests. Again, Nessie, Courtney, John, their links are down in the description. Thank you guys so much for showing up and having such great conversation. To everybody that showed up to watch and participate in the chat, thanks so much. We do this because we want to have this type of community with you guys. It's just a lot of fun. Something funny's happening.
Peter said Hitchcock said that the length of a film is directly related to the size of the human bladder.
That is really smart.
I've never heard that before, but that honestly, that makes so much sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The length of the stream is 100% related to the size of the human bladder.
You
I will
are
be
not
honest with
wrong
all of you.
about that. Okay, so but with that having been said, guys, again, thanks to everyone for coming by. I have a blast every week doing this, and this is my form of therapy. So my socialization, my social anxiety therapy. So again, thanks to everybody for turning out and making it a great time.
With you guys.
And until we see you next week, I hope, if you want to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, or in 2 weeks, if you're just here for the Expanse coverage, that's when I'll see you next. And until then, remember, peace and be excellent to each other.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.